It's time for AggroChat, the official podcast of the Tales of the Aggronaut blog and stalwart gaming community, where we talk about stuff and things, and the stuff about the things, and sometimes gaming. I'm Belghast, and let's start the show.
Okay. It took forever for that to start. Hey folks, it's that time again. Time for another episode of AggroChat. This is episode 518. Tonight I'm joined by Ammo.
Hello.
Ashgar.
That's so many.
Grace.
Hello.
Kodra.
The secret is 45.
Tam.
Hello.
And Thalen.
Hey there.
I thought we lost Tam's push-talkie again.
Right? Me too.
So we did not record last week for various reasons. But what happens when we don't record a week is things stack up. And we also missed the somewhat disastrous launch of Path of Exile Dawn of the Hunt expansion.
It was a launch that happened.
It was a launch that happened. Like that was a wild time. I do not know how that patch got out the door, but it did, and basically
Oof.
Yeah, like it essentially nerfed every build out there so that nothing was really functional in the campaign.
Warrior escaped nerfs.
Yeah, Warrior was the strongest class, and Warrior was one of the more struggle bus characters in the previous expansion, so that'll tell you.
Is this what happens when the person who's deciding if something's too hard or easy is also the person who has played the game more than literally anyone else?
I don't know. Like, supposedly, this is a bunch of unintentional consequences happening, and they did not realize that the campaign would be harder.
Does that mean they don't test the campaign?
They
There
don't
is no
end-to-end testing.
there is
cares
no
about-
way out of that statement for them that
Yeah.
doesn't make them look very bad.
So I don't remember what day it was, but I don't know if it was Wednesday, maybe. So Zizaran is a streamer of fairly, I don't know, high respect within the community and or ARPGs in general. And prior to the launch of this expansion, he had already planned to have an interview with Jonathan Rogers and Mark Roberts, the two leads on Path of Exile II, now that Chris Wilson is no longer with the company.
The thing is, like, when this was planned, this was supposed to be a victory lap.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It was supposed to be a victory lap. It was supposed to be a PR podcast. And what it ended up being instead was a come to Jesus podcast. And, to his credit, Ziz kind of held them to the carpet on a bunch of decisions.
Honestly, I have a lot of respect for Zizar. Like, I don't really care much about streamers and internet personalities at all in any way, but I respect him for having journalistic integrity.
Yeah.
And the thing is like, I've said this a few times in various venues, but there is no one else that could have had that stream and actually gotten some results, because the week beforehand, Gazzy and Darth had asked similar questions to a few of these things on their pre-launch podcast and were basically just shut down on a few things. Whereas I think, so there's a bunch of history between Zizaran and GGG as a company. They do a gauntlet event that's like a crazy hardcore race, usually once a year at least. So like there's a lot of collaboration between those groups. So I don't think anyone else bringing up these points would have gotten any kind of a result. And in truth, like, what happened was less than 48 hours later, there was a massive patch that fixed a lot of the things. and a couple of minor follow-up patches that have fixed additional things. So the game is in a not bad state today, as in a full week after the launch, but it was rough for the first week. And, like it saw the recent Steam scores go to negative. It saw...
Yeah, but people always do that whenever there's anything that happens in a game they don't like.
Yeah,
that's not an indication of the actual state of the game. That's just an indication of people being mad.
Yeah, it dominated all discussion and trickled out into places that don't normally cover video game stuff. It was a bad PR week. But I mean, it's mostly okay now. It's probably weaker than it was. They have yet another runaway build that they're not going to touch for fear of angering people anymore. It still feels like we, took 3 steps back and then 1 step back forward.
Yeah, there's one build now rather than 3.
My other concern is just going forward. Is it going to take Zizaran holding their feet to the fire every time they, make a mistake before they will admit it and do something about it?
Well, I think at the end of the day, there is a significant disconnect between the design goals that the higher ups on PoE 2 have versus what most of the gaming public seems to want, and they are at odds. So either the game is going to continue to go more into a isometric Dark Souls type thing that is what Jonathan seems to want, or it's going to turn more into prettier Path of Exile 1. It is going to go down one of those two courses, and I don't know which way it's going to go. But the numbers have not really been there with this league as a whole. It's more akin to PoE 1 numbers instead of I think they had 5 million sales or something like that. So what I had said before is a lot of the people that came in for the launch of the game were just there to play through the campaign once and are done, and will probably never play it again. So it'll be interesting to see how that evolves over time.
I mean, I was able to very easily look at what this league was going on in this league and be like, yeah, nah, I'm out. I don't need to put myself through that.
I mean, I might go back to the game if they keep, actually adding to the campaign, or if the patch notes are something that doesn't look completely disastrous like this one did.
Well, and one of the big things that I was looking forward to in this patch that they added was specters. And honestly, specters work better than they did in PoE 1.
The lowest of bars.
Right. Which is, you could trip over that bar. But in turn, only 3 specters I think that people have found are actually worth using and aren't weaker than just baseline minions.
Oh.
So yeah, it's bad time for minion players. At least the baseline minions are doing something now. But yeah, it's a bit of a swing and a miss. And I guess so. On one hand, I really wish Last Epoch hadn't have rescheduled, because there would have been a massive migration due to the screw ups with Path of Exile 2. But also, I'm kind of glad that they got a little extra time, because it seems like they've snuck additional stuff in, because Friday was the big reveal of the 100+ pages of patch notes for Last Epoch, and it looks like nonsense.
I mean, also, just before that, there was the same day as the Zizaran interview for PoE 2, there was another interview with the devs from Last Epoch, and it was just night and day.
Yeah.
Like, just people who were passionate about the game and excited for people to try it out and see what they had done and were having a good time, and people who were just being combative in an interview in front of the whole community.
I mean, my joke is like, PoE and Diablo are like, oh, we think that too many people enjoyed our game too much last season, and we're gonna fix that now. And Last Epoch's like, oh man, not enough people actually got to see Aberoth, which is a super cool fight. So we're gonna make it way easier for them to see Aberoth.
And also make a even harder version for the people who actually want that too.
Yep. But
I will not be seeing the even harder version of Aberoth. That's not a thing that's going to happen.
No.
I don't know. I mean, the item, the ability to craft really good gear seems really out there right now.
Yeah, there's so many quality of life systems that are going in with this second season.
So much crafting. The crafting was already so good. And now there's so much more.
Yeah, like the whole ability to choose one affix going into a legendary is so massive, and like so many items now became worth picking up because like you can, you know, so say you find an item that has pretty good stats, but the T6 or T7 is on the wrong ability. Well, you can try and fix that. Then you can feed that same item into a legendary and choose the T6, T7 affix. So like there's just so many more possibilities, especially for like COF crafting.
And they also fixed one of the saddest pieces of, you know, getting things that had low legendary potential on them felt really useless, and now you can try to re-roll them, and if you fail it resets them so you can put them in a nemesis egg and try again.
Yeah, we talked about this last time the patch came out, that 0 was actually better than 1 in some cases.
Yep.
Now you can take the ones and turn them into, try to turn them into higher, but really turn them into 0s.
And I'm okay with that outcome. Like that is a totally useful outcome because feeding them into nemesis eggs is fun. And I think that was a distinctly COF problem because probably Merchants Guild didn't get the thumb on the scale that kept trying to make things LP. Because I'm pretty sure that's one of the traits.
Yeah, that is a prophecy. That's Circle of Fortune trait. But also, like, that is also just how things drop. You're way more likely to get 1 than any other number, other than 0 on a lot of things.
But, like, the thing that Last Epoch was really missing was a good, cohesive endgame with, like, multiple things for you to do. And I feel like that's what this patch is adding. You know, and I'm really interested in some of the deterministic things that, like, you know, if you need specific items to drop, you can imprint them on the Weaver's Web and hopefully get a better shot at getting them dropped.
Or if you are a build that really wants a certain champion item, you can like put your Weaver's tree to be champion focused, which is probably what I might be doing.
Yeah.
Champion items seem actually really interesting because in a lot of ways they are build your own unique.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. That's fair.
Like they are putting a bunch of unique things on slots where there's already a unique for this, but this lets you craft an item that has that same sort of power.
Well, the other thing that I was looking at was the whole set item thing, and you're going to be able to do some stuff that you couldn't normally do where, like, not all of the sets had the same items. So, like, they weren't all, you know, these 5 pieces of armor. They were, you know, sometimes rings, sometimes weapons. And in theory, if you wanted to use that set with a weapon, but, you know, the set item was a weapon, you can now just put that on a different slot if it's more convenient to you?
One of the sets that was actually good, the Shattered Lance set, actually got nerfed kind of heavily coming into this patch. They put a cap of 1500% increased damage on its effect. Yes, you could get way higher than that before, but because it is a shard that can just go on one-handed swords, I suspect you're going to be able to pull a lot more damage out of it because now you're not stuck with the stupid set sword that you can't do anything else with.
Now, does that go into a sealed affix slot, or is it in another?
No, it's a normal affix slot. Although you could try to seal it. It's just it's just normal shard.
It's okay, but it doesn't have tiers then, right?
It has tiers. They absolutely have tiers.
Oh, I thought what the set thing was giving you was like access to turning it into a set item that would get you one of the set bonuses.
It does
that.
What are the?
But also the set affix has stats of its own, which have tiers.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, you're gonna want to break down multiple copies of the set.
Oh, that's
yes.
great, because I had so many in my inventory. I'll be through those like crazy.
I'm just glad that I don't have to sadly leave them on the ground anymore.
Yeah, because like in the monolith, there were all those unique and/or set nodes,
and COF gave you the whole set every time one piece dropped.
It is very funny because it's like, is any of this good? I don't know. It's probably like
it's a whole lot of loot.
You can't do this on unique, so I'm gonna have to think like this. It's such an interesting like tension that they're trying to build in away from like actually just find an LP4 unique is the best way to build an item.
What's actually gonna be hilarious is trying to gamble Rune of Removal on like an exalted item, trying to hit like a T1 or T2, so you can put a set affix on it.
Oh yeah. Well, but and then like, do you have a exalted item that is almost perfect, but you wish the exalted was something else? Hey, there's now a rune for rerolling that too.
That's gonna be a wild gamble.
Yeah, but I don't know. I have a bunch of Garbo exalts in my I've got a bunch of, especially for COF. Like
it's true. You just kind of build them up.
You just build them up, and you're like, I don't have somebody who's gonna use this, but maybe I would throw this item on the ground. But now I will gamble to see if it becomes an item I would equip. It's kind of wild.
Yeah, like I think it's going to be interesting to see how much access we're really going to have to all of these woven echoes that give the unique crafting options.
And now I am trying to decide if I want to be COF or merchant this time.
I'm COF all the way.
I am going back to COF.
It's just loot makes me happy, and loot dropping makes me more happy than buying loot. So I don't know.
I don't know. The economy is probably going to be kind of wild this time.
Oh, I'm sure it's going to be really out there with all of the new options and everything going on. It's
after all, strong crafting systems mean people can use and then sell the proceeds from those crafting systems.
Well, I was about to say, there's also the fact that there are so many builds that are available to you in this game. So there's probably a customer for what you're selling. I've been trying to figure out how I can get Thor's hammer to work, but alas, its hammer throw is not really conducive to that.
Hey, what?
I really wanted to use hammer throw to there's the affix that's chance to electrify, and when you hit with a thrown attack, you have a chance to cast smite.
I thought that was wildly meta.
Is it with hammer throw or with javelin?
I think with javelin mostly.
I think javelin actually. Now that I think about that,
javelin makes sense. I definitely have been this seems real strong with javelin. I was trying to get it with hammer throw, and I don't think hammer throw works for it.
I know there have been hammer throw builds that are meta, but I have no idea what specifically is meta for hammer right now. Most of the Ignite builds doing that exact same thing you just said.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
I think somebody had some sort of an auto bomber with hammers last go round.
There's a hilarious void hammer throw build, but probably not what you're looking for either.
No, but I mean I've never actually played a Acolyte, so maybe I should do that.
I think you would find Warlock interesting.
I suspect you're right.
I think I'm going to be boring and build the same build I built last go round because it got some buffs and I'm curious. But also, I can just respec into whatever the hell I want now because that's a thing.
I am excited about Heartseeker, so that is probably what I'm going to play with first.
Very fancy, looks broken arrow attack. It looks kind of busted.
I'm excited about it, and it's the shiny new skill, so of course there's shiny new MTX for it because they finally added skill MTX.
Yay!
None of the skills I'm looking at playing right now have MTX except possibly Chthonic Fissure.
Well, that have been announced. They didn't show all of them yet.
Yes, but the rest of them are in the patch notes.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize they were all in the patch notes. Yeah, there's like a 30-minute video that's just a summary of the changes, and it's packed.
And
it's super packed.
Everything, because apparently they just squeezed in some extra stuff because they had to delay, and they added a few more things, so, like the first round of hot fixes and like some really gorgeous visual updates.
Yeah, like there's presence indicators on some of the attacks now, apparently, so you can see what the actual range is.
I wish Path of Exile would add these so badly.
Like, okay, so back to the whole COF versus trading, whatever. I'll be honest, like, I wouldn't do trade in Path of Exile if that were a reasonable option. Like, you have to be so good at crafting for that to ever make sense.
And you've hit on why I struggle so hard with Path of Exile because I love finding loot or crafting stuff, but I already have a PhD. I don't need to get another one in the crafting system of PoE. So I enjoy Last Epoch because its crafting system is really relatively straightforward and intuitive and well explained and incredibly versatile.
I do appreciate that the in-game texts for basically everything like just explains like how things work. There is a lot of in-game reference, and well, they even said like in I think the interview they did that nobody actually reads these things. I appreciate that they're available. I have read some of them.
Yeah, but it's massive that essentially the wiki is in game.
Yes. Anyhow, I'm torn between starting as a Lightning Werebear yet again or playing a Void Knight. A Void Knight build I have kind of sort of played before, but didn't really get to see come together. Also, I hate Volatile Reversal. So replacing Volatile Reversal is just a net positive.
Yeah, Devouring Orb, now that you don't have to spam it, looks interesting to me.
Devouring Orb looks good. Better access to sigils now that it's basically a passive. Looks good. I'm trying to decide if I want to keep Time Bubble from Anomaly or if I'm just going to replace that with Devouring Orb. It's probably a thing I'm going to adjust once I see survivability because one of them is much better than the other. That.
Probably my favorite thing about Last Epoch is that you can just see an ability that you think looks cool and almost certainly you can build an entire build around it.
Now I wonder if that's true. Like, mostly yes. Any ability that looks half decent, you can probably make a build around. But now I'm thinking, like, can you make a build entirely around swipe? And yes, actually you can, now that I'm thinking about that.
I mean, not entirely around, but that was my build.
Yeah.
Like, I mostly was using swipe. I also had wolves that I turned into raptors.
Do you still get spirit raptors when you do that?
You don't get spirit raptors when you do that.
But yeah, I think I have built around every ability available to druids except Serpent Strike. Now that I think about that a little bit. Also, technically not Fury Leap.
No. I'm not going to say it was built around it, but Fury Leap is very fun on the Blood Raptors because you give them the Berserk. No, that's Warcry.
That's Warcry.
That's Warcry, right.
It is possible to build around it if you are a werebear, because you can have Maul use the same tree as Fury Leap and definitely build around Maul. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's a thing that I really dig, is that like you can end up essentially like auto doing other abilities from other abilities. So like Warpath Smite, or all kinds of interactions where you can build out this other ability tree but never actually use it. It just gets used by doing another ability.
There is a lot of that, and it makes for most of the more interesting combinations in this game.
Yep.
But I'm sure we will talk more about this next week after it's actually a thing. I hear Blueprints is excellent.
Oh my god, it's so good.
Just pronounce this is going to cause issues.
Yes, it's a pun. It's intentionally and flagrantly a pun. You realize this almost immediately. It's also not a pun. It might be 3 puns. I'm not sure.
I have 7 pages of notebook filled in already.
Yeah, this game is a exploration puzzle drafting roguelike.
This is true.
Okay.
Like straight up, it really, really wants you to explore. The premise of this game, which it gives you immediately, is you are a family member of some eccentric rich guy who is letting you have his house.
His estate.
Yes, his estate. It's very fancy. It's also kind of a weird place, and the stipulation is it is yours provided you can find the 46th room of this 45-room mansion.
Well,
difficulty. The mansion is distinctly non-Euclidean, and specifically, every day, you also are not allowed to sleep overnight in the mansion. Every day, it resets, and the rooms are different. So the draft part is every time you open a door, you're picking one of 3 rooms that will be the room that you're about to walk into, that all have different effects and entrances and stuff inside, trying to find a way to uncover this secret 46th room. And I'm not convinced that the game actually finishes after room 46. I am getting more and more hints that it does not. But that's the setup. And it's got everything I liked about Gone Home. This kind of like exploring a weird place, but it's more distinctly weird and like more surreal, and also there's more game to it. Like there's a distinct, like, each day is an exploration, and that exploration is going to be different, and there's strategies, and there's new rooms that you unlock that you can find, and so on and so forth.
As an example that is not spoilery, there is a room you will encounter because it's very common called the Parlor. And in it, there is a 3-box puzzle. Each box has a statement on the top of them. At least one statement is true. At least one statement is false. One of the box has goodies inside. Pick which box has the goodie inside.
Yeah, it's just
it's a fun little logic game.
It's a little logic puzzle. And it really rewards you. You'll run into doors that are locked, and you'll run into, like, certain rooms require a currency to enter, to draft. And so, like, you'll want to be collecting currency and finding keys and all of these different other things. And the more of this you do, the more you're rewarded for just kind of looking at the space that you're in, because there's a lot of hidden stuff that you can find. But also you quickly find that there's very little in the house that is not intentional. And so there's like paintings on the walls. Turns out those matter and behave weirdly. There's little like decor bits. There's obviously just items and stuff you can pick up, one of which I passed a number of times before realizing it was, in fact, an item I could pick up and is actually quite useful. But it's mysterious. It's a little whimsical. It's got multiple different stories all kind of woven together about like the life and times of this house and also who you are. It's got puzzles within puzzles within puzzles, but I've not run into anything that's like both frustrating in a this makes no sense way and also required. Whereas, and there's a bunch of stuff where it's like, I beat my head against this and finally figured it out. And I realized that there's hints in a different room that I had never checked out about how this puzzle works. So it's really good about providing hints, just not always in a linear way. It's got a delightful art style reminiscent of like The Witness. It's also chill. Like, it's really chill.
It's very chill, and I'm very much hopeful that it remains chill, and I don't feel like there's some amount of I'm wondering if I'm under time pressure and I'm unaware of it.
I don't think so.
Couldn't tell you, truthfully.
I found some things that care about what day and time it is.
I have found that we should stop talking.
Like, you should play this game. It's if
like,
any of this sounds appealing,
this,
like it's 100% worth your time and like $20.
Yeah, it's on sale for $26 right now.
Yeah.
This game definitely can lead you to not realizing there's something going on here for quite a while. And I'm here to tell you there's a lot going on. And it might not necessarily always be obvious at first.
Yes, this is very true.
You mentioned you thought people would probably this is a game people would bounce off of thinking it's very shallow. I agree with that statement. Yeah. I could have very easily bounced off of this game because I thought it was very shallow, and then I got sucked in, and now I'm playing a lot.
Yeah, which is exactly what happened to me. Like, I was like, okay, this is a kind of cute, like, board gamey kind of thing. I'll get to the end, and I'll have enjoyed it. And then it started unfolding at me.
I remember seeing the trailer for this at one of the game shows, and it gave me distinct Obra Dinn adjacent vibes.
So I have definitely heard people say that it's like Obra Dinn, and it is like Obra Dinn in that it is a puzzle game about knowledge collection.
Yeah, Obra Dinn is gonna be holding your hand a lot more than this game is, though.
Okay.
Well, and Obra Dinn is also like those puzzles we used to do in school that were like, here's a grid of people and things, and you cross them out based on the clues you get.
Yeah.
That
logic puzzles.
Obra Dinn always felt to me like a very big, sprawling one of those.
It's very deductive. Obra Dinn is very deductive. This is less so.
Yeah. The knowledge is important. Like, don't get me wrong. But there's also, it's like the knowledge is important, but there's also like a game happening.
Like,
so this is a game in that genre that we hate the name of.
Metroidvania?
Yes.
No, I don't even think this is a Metroidvania. No. Truly, this might be the first game like Myst I've played that I've enjoyed.
Yes.
That makes sense for reasons that I'll get to.
But I joked, I was really worried I was not going to be on time for podcast because I had just uncovered the archives and I had to transpose 3 pages of notes into my notebook.
Oh yeah. And I don't have the same massive selection of notes, but also it's like, oh, okay, yeah. You absolutely could, I just don't. And it's very, very satisfying seeing sometimes a thing will click and I'm like, oh, okay. I see what we're doing here. Occasionally that's followed by a lot of cursing, but but positive connotation.
Yes.
It's one of my favorite games I've played in a long time. Trivial game of the year contender for me already.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it has a bunch going on with it, but it's also it's in bite-sized enough chunks that I feel like it's not overwhelming. Or at least it's as overwhelming as you choose to make it for yourself, which doesn't have to be you don't have to tackle everything at once.
Yeah.
And that feels important.
So this next topic I am only going to talk about very briefly, but I had seen so much weird discourse surrounding the Minecraft movie that I decided I wanted to watch it. And
All right.
it is a wild movie.
It sounds
I've
like
heard
a
mostly
wild
good
movie.
things from people who saw it.
It like I kind of went back and forth about like I don't know if this is brilliant or if this is trash. And I think it's brilliant. It really like reminds it is this weird movie that kind of sits in two wildly different directions. It's like if Spy Kids and Nacho Libre had a child, it would be this Minecraft movie.
Okay.
Everyone's stunned into silence.
None of these words are in the Bible.
It both takes itself super seriously and not seriously at all at the exact same time. And Jack Black is very much Jack Blacking it up. So,
all I've really seen about this movie online is Chicken Jockey.
Yep. And there's so many deep Minecraft references there. You have to get past the truly disturbing design choices that they made for rendering the blocky Minecraft world.
Yeah. I mean, just from having seen the trailers, it's that sheep, that horrible sheep.
But no, it's not just them. It's like it's every Minecraft critter is equally disturbing.
I believe it.
But also, like, it's this weirdly charming, heartfelt story about, finding your own place and accepting your own creativity. And, like, it's just, I don't know, like, it's a shockingly good film. Like,
I do think it's interesting that because of this film, you can now go to the store and get a Jack Black action figure. It's just Jack Black. Like it says it's Minecraft Steve, but it's just a Jack Black action figure.
Yeah, it's just Jack Black action figure.
I do low-key kind of want a Jack Black action figure. That sounds great.
Yeah, it's like 8 inches tall too. It's big.
I mean, like this could be a Tenacious D film as well, because he absolutely, like, all you're missing is Kyle Goss, because he randomly breaks into song in totally non sequitur moments.
Well, yes, because if you have Jack Black in your movie, he needs to sing.
I'd actually heard a complaint about this movie that he does not sing enough.
I mean, there could be more interludes, yeah.
I mean, that I would believe that to be a completely valid complaint. Jack Black should always sing more. I don't know if I'm going to take my son to see this in the theater, but I do fully expect to end up watching it with him at some point.
There's nothing concerning in the film.
No, I'm not concerned about. Yeah, I'm more concerned about rowdy crowds.
Yeah. I wonder if Billy Mitchell will sue this film. Because there's absolutely a character that definitely seems like he's patterned after a Billy Mitchell-like character.
Oh my. He does enjoy filing defamation lawsuits.
So. He does. I think he actually won one of them recently.
He did actually win one recently, so annoyingly.
Yeah, but it definitely well worth watching at some point, especially once it arrives on streaming platforms.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it'll be on streaming pretty soon, so.
Pokemon Mystery Dungeon DX.
So this is a game that came out in 2020 that is a remake of a game that came out in 2005. But I restarted it again because, wow, the post-game of this game is really hard. It's been a while since I played it. Yeah, this is the one you played.
Okay.
And I wanted to sort of get back into it. Probably going to dig up my DS and play Explorers of Sky at some point. But I wanted to go back to this one first, because this one has a bunch of... this one's a lot easier to play than the DS ones are.
I was about to say, let me know if you need any rescues. I offer good rescue services.
I'm usually pretty good about not getting into situations that require rescues during the story.
My son sure isn't.
You say that, but you played it 5 years ago.
Oh, no, I get it. But, like, my kid is playing it right now. And
Oh, really?
yeah. And we'll just be like, oh, Dad, please come rescue me from magma caverns again.
Look, magma caverns is hard.
Magma caverns is hard. That's when they introduce sweeper moves.
It is not when they're introduced, but it's the first time they become much more common. You can run into them in a place that has Nuzleafs. They have Razor Wind, which is a room-wide move. But it's 2-turn moves, so you have a little time to, prepare. Yeah, it's not just Magnitude or Earthquake, which just goes suddenly, okay, we're done.
Yeah, they're going to get you.
I know. I mean, again, this is not my first time through the game. I'm playing as a Cubone this time. Cubone is one of the Generation 1 Pokemon with a hilarious learn set. So you can learn things like Blizzard, which is a room-wide. So having that really early in the game, kind of stupid, actually.
Oh, yeah. Especially if you can manage to keep yourself in PP for that.
Yeah, I've got on Efficient Scarf, and that's doing good enough for now. But yeah, it's interesting to see. I did pick a different partner than usual. I picked Cyndaquil, who does not start with, I think, does Charmander start with Flamethrower?
Is that the four range?
Yeah.
I don't know if he starts with it or if they get it very quickly afterwards.
Yeah, Cyndaquil is not that gifted. Does not start with Flamethrower. Does not start with much in the way of useful moves other than Ember, actually. So it's a bit of a struggle with the partner. In the old games, it learned Smokescreen, and that was busted. That was ridiculously busted. But they made the accuracy debuff of it much less bad, which is good, because then we see you with it all the time. But less good for actually using it. Also, bosses now have status effects wear off quickly. Another thing that was not true for the older games. But yeah, got up to Zapdos already. Really enjoying it.
I should probably break that game back out again. Also, I never got particularly far into the extremely difficult post game, but I enjoyed just playing through it. It was a fun time.
I did find the post game very fun, but yes, it is quite challenging.
I'm just glad they removed the need to have HMs was a thing you originally needed to get to some of the post game dungeons. That's not a thing anymore. But unfortunately, losing them has meant that you can walk into stupidly difficult dungeons without knowing that they're stupidly difficult.
Oh no!
Like, I think you can go to the Kyogre dungeon, which is 30 floors immediately, and you shouldn't do that.
So, Thalen, tell us about the Hugo nominations.
Yep. So the Hugo finalists have been released for 2025. So I have a big long list of novels and short stories and all sorts of stuff that I need to read. But there are some categories in particular that might be, of interest to folks here and listening. First of all, because of it was nominated for Best Long Form Dramatic Presentation, I watched The Wild Robot today with my son.
Oh,
and
yeah.
He declared after it was done that that's probably the best movie he's ever seen.
Yeah.
He also, during the climactic portion at the end, when things are getting really dangerous, and then they come together to fix a thing, like he was very happy about it, and he had that I'm concerned about things, but I'm trying to hold it together voice. So like it hit him in the feels. It hit me in the feels too.
Like when I saw this movie in theaters, I was not prepared to spend the back 2 hours. Like, I don't actually know how long that movie is, but it felt like 2/3 of that movie just constantly crying.
Yes. No, I teared up, probably started choking up about maybe a half hour into the movie, and for the remainder of the movie. Just, yeah, very, very good. And probably going to watch Flow tomorrow, because that's also been nominated. And then over in the best graphic stories, there's a couple in particular that I think folks might be interested in. Molly Ostertag's The Deep Dark is a nominee, and I read it yesterday. It is remarkably good. and very much what you might expect from a person who wrote for the Owl House and is married to the creator of Nimona. It's one of those stories where basically it takes place in the real world, and there is one fantastical thing, and that fantastical thing is what drives a lot of the plot and the conflict, but the story is really about the people and feelings and relationships. So, and it's very, very queer. And then in more comedic stuff, Ryan North wrote a choose your own adventure comic for Star Trek Lower Decks, Warp Your Own Way.
Yeah.
It is fantastic. It is a choose your own adventure where you're the main character that you're choosing the adventure for is oh god, I'm blanking on her name. The captain's daughter.
Mariner.
Mariner, yes. It's Beckett Mariner. That's who you're following. And the fact that it's a choose your own adventure is part of the story. And part of reading this book is trying to figure out how to get to a good ending, because it doesn't seem like there's a way. But it's a lot of fun. And then the ones that what I really added this to the list to bring up for is because we have the best game or interactive work category. And so over there, we've got nominated Veilguard, which how reasonable is it to play Veilguard if you haven't played anything since Origins? It's
very reasonable. Yeah,
okay.
Like it is. There's going to be some details that you don't know, but honestly, it explains the bits that you need to know. So it is very good as this is an entry point into Dragon Age.
Okay, because I guess I'm going to play it. So that's on the list. We've got Echoes of Wisdom. So I guess we'll be playing that after skipping Breath of the Wild, but whatever.
Echoes of Wisdom does not need you to have played Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
Are you thinking Tears of the Kingdom? Echoes of Wisdom is the 2D one where you play as Zelda.
Oh, I am thinking of Tears of the Kingdom. Echoes of Wisdom I already have, yes, and I've started playing it, and it's really good. It's been months since I played it. Yes, okay, good. Okay, that makes more sense as a nominee. Then we have Caves of Cud, because
Right,
it has
that
to have been
came out
released
last
in
year,
2024. Not being available prior to 2024 is fine. It just has to be officially released in 2024. So
yeah, I mentioned that on the podcast a while back.
So we've got that. Tactical Breach Wizards, which it sounds like from people talking about it that it does in fact have a fantastic story. So I'm looking forward to that. I think part of the reason I didn't initially pick it up is because I looked at the name and was like, is this Trine again?
No, it
but
definitely is
it's a totally
not.
different thing, it sounds like.
It's a tactics game.
Also,
Yeah.
I liked Trine.
Trine was not a tactics game though, right?
It was a puzzle game.
No, it was more. Yeah, it was a puzzle game.
Wait, Braid is what I'm thinking of. No, okay. I don't remember Trine, I don't think.
Trine
is
was
a game where you play as one of three characters, which have different abilities: a wizard, a knight, and a rogue. You can switch between at any time.
Yeah, and to get through a lot of the puzzles, you have to stage a character and then switch to a different character and then stage a character and then switch to a different character and then do it all in sequence to get through.
You might be thinking of something else, because in Trine, you would play as one character. You play as one body that can switch between these characters.
Well, I remember there being scenarios where, I don't know, where you
usually have to
use one character to do a thing and then flip to another character to do a different thing and then flip to another character.
The usual answer is the wizard, who can make blocks and planks that can let your rogue and or warrior get around better. I think Trine 2 gave some different mechanics. I think that one did let you separate them, but I don't think I ever finished Trine 2.
That's the last one I played. I think that was an AggroChat game club game at one point.
That may be correct.
I kind of think it was, yeah.
But the original was forever ago.
But now there's been 5 of them, I think.
Wait, what? So I knew.
Yeah, there's a Trine 5 came out last year.
What? Wild.
So I know Trine 3 was like completely different, and people mostly didn't like it. So I'm surprised that 4 came out ever. Yeah, these release dates are a little wild.
But so and it's interesting that blueprints came up because I've seen because I started looking into each of these games, like particularly the ones that I didn't really know a lot about, and I saw a lot of people saying that they finished this game and wanted something like it, so they got blueprints. Lorelei and the Laser Eyes.
That's the title I've heard before.
Which I've definitely seen it a number of times, and it seems like people love it, and it seems like it's an incredibly hard puzzle game set in a hotel. And nothing that I've looked up about it like gives me any useful information, really. So I don't know what I'm getting myself into here, but I mean it's very well reviewed. I did in fact wonder if any of you had played it and might have an idea of what I'm getting into. And then is it 1000 times resist? 1000x resist? I don't know.
I don't know, but I've seen the title and
it looks kind of I mean, just at a glance, it looks vaguely Genshin, but in super tech sci-fi. I don't know. But again,
the title didn't Tam talk about that one before?
Yeah, I thought he did.
Oh, I think maybe he did. Now that I think about it, but yeah. So a number of games that people like well enough to nominate for a Hugo, and we'll see if any of them makes me as happy as Chance of Sinar did last year.
Wow, we've actually gotten through this entire list. We're now down to Sudokucon.
Yeah, so last week was the first ever Sudokucon, and I got to go in person and meet a bunch of people in the Sudoku community. It was a lot of fun. I would say like there were a whole bunch of setters there. It was a very interesting convention. Like basically the whole time was booked with a bunch of different presentations and activities related to Sudoku. There were a bunch of people with like big puzzles to solve. One of there was a huge sign that had on it welcome or Sudokucon 2025, and all of the like letters were the form of clue constraints on a massive 8x5 like Sudoku panel, like 40 9x9 Sudokus with all of these clues that crossed over them, and like you would have to like the grids would communicate to each other. Very interesting stuff, and we like solved that over the course of 2 days, like as a big collaborative effort.
Yeah, I thought that was wild.
It was interesting because like I have gotten into Sudoku through cracking the cryptic, and so like I am very used to solving these puzzles online. So this was my first time solving a lot of stuff with pencil and paper, and I found I enjoyed it. What like probably the most insane thing that happened was the president of Nikoli was there, which is the company that originated the term Sudoku. Like the concept of a Sudoku, it's interesting, like was not first done by Nikoli, but they were all called number place, and they were basically all written in a way that it was so trivial that there was not really any of the like puzzle elements to them. Whereas like Nikoli is the first person that was writing quote unquote number place rules geared towards a higher level logical thinking, like thinking about it at a more difficult level. And so they came and they like the current CEO is like a person who was a big puzzler as a kid and came up with his own variant puzzle around like putting rectangles into a grid. And so he talked about that for like an hour and like answered a whole bunch of people's questions. And we had somebody who was there to translate like explicitly because they wanted to come and hang out with the president of Nikoli. So it was just like wild providence that worked out. Most of the weekend was wild providence that any of it worked out. There was a Sudoku speed solving competition around the concept of a just one cell puzzle with a grid that is basically unsolvable because it's not unique, except there's a single cell that has a logical path to determining it. And so you just need to determine what cell that is, put the number in, and then move to the next puzzle. And I managed to get third place in that, and I was very proud of myself, and I won a couple of Nikoli books, and the Nikoli Sudoku puzzle books are extremely good, and I highly recommend checking them out.
Neat.
The one they gave me was definitely very hard puzzles, though. Like, the first puzzle, I was like, oh, we're starting out the gate, very difficult. It was a big intersection of the community too. Like there was the previous world champion Sudoku solver was there, like 5-time world champion Sudoku solver, talking about what it's like to prepare for like competitive Sudoku competitions, and like some of the strategies that they would employ in there, and like some of the stories from past events. There were people who had been like, there was a lot of people talking about like development of tools that the Sudoku community use to build and solve puzzles. There was a whole like 3-hour block of just let's go really deep into the mathematical research that's going on behind Sudoku. Like very, very fascinating people talking about like graph theory vis-a-vis certain puzzles, and how some puzzles have hidden like rules to them that are not intuitive or obvious, and how to avoid getting yourself bit by when you try and set those. But yeah, it was a really good time, and I think they're talking about doing the next one in Europe somewhere, because there's a lot of like EU interested people in Sudoku, and they want to make sure it sort of travels around kind of like the Hugos.
Cool.
But yeah, we'll see. It was
glad it went successfully.
It definitely went extremely successfully. It's gotten me back into like one of the reasons I think I'm very primed to play Blueprints right now is because was very primed to be like, let's do a lot more low tech. Like, let's get the notebook out. Let's start writing things down. Like I'm in that mindset now. It was fascinating because if you've done Sudoku and have heard of Snyder notation, Thomas Snyder of Snyder Notation was there, who started off his talk with he doesn't know why he's credited with inventing Snyder notation, but it was interesting.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I had a really good time with it.
That's probably a show. Any other short topics?
Xenoblade continues to be a fun game.
Yes, very much so.
I still have not gotten to the new stuff.
I haven't either. I just got my Scal Flight module, and I'm grinding out some levels right now. I am very much looking forward to getting to that point, and I'm getting closer.
I definitely understand the game a lot better now than I did when I tried to play it in 2014 or whatever.
Yeah, and again, the quick recast is amazing. But I think just a lot of the stuff that they cleaned up and simplified helps a lot.
And maybe not everyone needs to have a blade level. Maybe that was another thing that made sense.
Yeah, I don't really miss blade levels too much. It just felt extra grindy sometimes. You had to be like this tall to do the next level or next story quest. But yeah, I definitely feel like I'm getting through the first half of the game a lot faster than when I originally played it. Also, just grinding out like some of the missions at the mission terminal and the barracks. It's like some crazy XP really fast.
I just appreciate that Affinity is not a ridiculous grind anymore.
But that too. And you can do missions for Affinity at the terminal now too. But yeah, a lot of that stuff is just so much faster, and it didn't really need to be as slow as it was originally, I don't think.
Game's plenty long by itself, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Like we said earlier in the show, new leagues coming out next week for Last Epoch. If you have ever played Diablo or Path of Exile and have not played Last Epoch, I highly suggest you check it out. Other than that, hopefully you enjoyed the show, and we will see you again next week. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
See you.